She's still laughing.
That's so funny. Welcome to 5 Lemons Left. We're the real stuff, the lemons making lemonade. So pucker up, because we're going to be discussing our life's lessons and the nitty-gritty details of our spiritual journeys.
Hey y'all, I'm Amanda.
And I'm Drusilla.
I'm Melissa.
Hello, this is Morgan.
And I'm Penny. Welcome to our podcast today.
Oh my goodness.
Welcome to another episode of 5 Lemons Laughing. We are still knee deep in the Abundance Chronicles. We really skimmed the surface with our manifesting episode. Last episode, we talked about what did we talk about? We went into deep
Gratitude.
We talked about, I'm so thankful that I have my other lemonettes to help me out. And we just touched a little bit on acceptance last week, and it really deserves its whole episode. So here we go, a master class in acceptance. And I want to shout out to Penny. We miss you. She's not here today, but we're going to call forward your spirit to lend us your wisdom and your clarity to this. So acceptance. We wanted to really go deep into this because accepting what is going on in life and around is a spiritual tool to become present. And acceptance can be a powerful mindset. It helps us navigate through the complexities and the challenges of life. It involves recognizing and embracing situations, emotions, experiences as they are. It's about releasing resistance and judgment. So we're going to talk about acceptance, and we're going to talk about what it's not as well. So Melissa, you're going to start the conversation off for us.
Yes, I am, because I am accepting the fact that I got bullied into this. From my lemonette.
Beautiful example.
Yes, that is a great example.
I can work against it or I can work with it. So I'm going to work with it. And I got called out because one of the things I say very, very often is acceptance is my answer to everything today. And it's a 12-step thing. And it's really my answer. It's not just a saying. So I want you to picture yourself, close your eyes, picture yourself standing next to this rushing river. It's just rushing by. And you have to swim upstream, and you get your swimsuit and your cap on and you get in, you can hardly stand. It's just coming at you so hard, so fast, so many rapids. But you get in there and you're swimming upstream and you're paddling and you're pulling water and you're getting exhausted and you're feeling no peace at all. You're feeling scared and fearful, and you're looking for people outside of the river to help you pull you out of the river. And it's painful and it's just so hard, so exhausting, so overwhelming. And you can open your eyes and you feel that's what it's like when you're resisting life and you're not in acceptance. You're swimming upstream, you're struggling through everything. And if you were to turn around back in that vision, turn around, let go, and float down with the river, how peaceful of a ride it is, how smooth it is, how you can take a break, you can take a breath. To me, when I think of acceptance, I think of the river, I think swimming up river, and I think of letting go when I'm truly accepting, letting go, and going down the river, even to the point where I'm becoming the river, where it is life and the universe moving and operating. I'm a part of it. Everyone's a part of it. And so I like to feel those kind of body things, those sensations, because it really like locks in for me the choice I can make. I can swim upriver or I can go down and float and relax. And I think it is the basis of many, many religions. Definitely for Buddhism, it's about life is about accepting everything that's happening and not pushing against it, not wanting it to be different. And they say, if you don't do that, then life is suffering. And we all have experienced that. We all know what suffering is like in this life. And if you think about it, it's probably, for me at least, when I haven't accepted exactly what's happening in front of me, what people are saying, their behavior, their actions. I can't change anyone. I can't change situations. Big situations. All I can change is how I think of it, how I react to it. And if I want my peace, if I want to not be fighting that river, I need to accept it exactly how it's showing up. And I know that I'm not when I think it's a problem. When I think, oh, this is a problem, or I got a problem, or he's a problem, or then I know I'm not accepting it just how it is.
What a great explanation, Melissa. Great visuals.
Thank you.
When you were talking about the river, and I was really struggling, like there's no way I couldn't even pick my feet up because I was afraid, right, to get washed down river. And I also loved it, like looking on the outside, looking for people to help you, to rescue. I love that imagery. And also the thought of, picking my feet up and being swept down river. That's scary.
Yeah.
That takes a lot of
trust and faith.
And faith. Yeah.
Well, I have a question for you, Melissa. So you loved the visual, by the way. Thank you. I really got into that. And just like the feeling of like letting go and letting myself be carried was like, oh, thank God. But towards the end of your share, you said something like, I know I'm not in trust and faith if I'm thinking that whatever's presenting in front of me is a problem. But let's be real. Yep. Some things look like problems.
Sure.
So
sure.
Let's say, like we're reading that Janine Roth book in our book club right now. Let's say you just got the phone call that all of your life savings, poof, are gone because you were invested in a Ponzi scheme unbeknownst to you. Like, how are you saying that's not a problem? And what does acceptance look like in that extreme example of a situation?
Well, I think it is definitely, I think we would be human if we didn't react to it. And I think there is an initial reaction, and then you can start thinking, okay, so this book that we're reading is about this woman who had her life savings, poof, it disappeared because of Bernie Madoff.
Okay, what was the name of the book before you move forward?
Lost and Found, something by someone.
Okay. I don't remember her name. Way to accept the lack of knowledge.
Yeah. These are my brain can only handle so many details. Yeah. So we'll definitely link it in the podcast notes. It's a great book so far. But okay, so let's just use it as a practice. Bernie Madoff ran a Ponzi scheme and took people's life savings. People couldn't even pay their mortgage after it. They couldn't pay their rent. They couldn't buy food. Like they had mostly the whole thing in their whole savings in their account and like $5,000 in their checking. And that's it. Okay. So would I be able to do anything about Bernie Madoff right to the beginning. Like I really can't do anything that he took the money, right? And it just disappeared. So for me, I kind of work through these things like, I just, that's out of my reach. I can't do anything about it. The police are going to do something. They put him in jail. But for me, I can't do anything. So that's an acceptance. Your money's gone. It's gone. It's gone. That's an acceptance.
It's gone whether you're kicking upstream or not. That result is the same.
And I think it doesn't mean you have to make it feel good. That's the little catch here. Like, you're not trying to make it all feel good. You're not even trying to make it reasonable and reasoning in your mind. You're just, that's what happened. That's what happened. And I can either fight it, stay up all night, try to fix it, which we all do. It's just human nature. And that is why acceptance, if you just accept, this is what this guy did. Now, what am I going to do? And accept exactly it keeps you in the present. Exactly. Do I need to get another job now? Do we have to sell our house? Like, just really practical, really in reality, and really present. Mm-hmm. And it's so much easier to say than do. And I think that's why it's such a huge spiritual tool, is because it is like this leapfrogging over very tough stuff.
Yeah, over the torment, it sounds like. And right. As you're describing it, I'm realizing it's a very subtle spiritual practice, because like outwardly, the circumstances are the same when you're in acceptance and when you're not in acceptance. Bernie Madoff stole my life savings. You know what I mean? Yeah. But it's like, are you going to spend hours, days, weeks, months wringing your hands, stewing over it, complaining about it, and just marinating in the stinky diaper? Or are you going to stay in the present moment? And part of what she says, Janine Roth says in that book, is about staying in the present moment, like coming back into present moment awareness and acknowledging that right here in this moment, there's not a problem. Right here, right now, my stomach is full. There's a roof over my head. No one is in immediate danger. Nobody's limb is laying on the side of the road. Like, there's no major catastrophes happening right here in this moment. What appeared to happen is in the past, and according to A Course in Miracles, the past doesn't even exist. So right in the present moment is where you find peace, and acceptance can help bring you into that present moment awareness. So I don't know if that's and it brings kind of a summary of what you were saying. Yeah.
It brings answers. When we all been there, when you're peaceful and centered and in the present, things come to you that you wouldn't otherwise hear because you have so much static in your mind, right? And I think also it brings you back to realize we're not separate with the world we see. We're with the universe. We're all one. It's going to work out. And you are being guided and taken care of by some kind of higher power. So you don't have to like it at all. But but acceptance is just acknowledging this is happening exactly how it is happening.
Mm-hmm. As Byron Katie said, it's not arguing with reality. Sorry, Amanda, you looked like you were going to say something.
I love that. I've never heard that. It's not arguing with reality, Morgan. That's good. And yes, I was going to say something. I don't want to gloss over something very important that you said, Melissa. It about feeling your feelings, right? Like accepting anger, accepting what is coming up. It's not saying, some spiritual students would be able to so that it wouldn't bother them. And I would say most of the population would definitely be bothered by that. And so, the experience of actually it's okay to be angry. It's okay, like, to feel what's coming up and restore peace when you can, once that has, you've accessed that. Mm-hmm.
It's called a practice.
It's called a practice. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I practice it every day. If my money went poof, I would freak the heck out.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But I do have a lot of spiritual practices that I could implement to bring me back to peace in the present, where I could start seeing exactly what my options were. And that acceptance is my answer to everything today. I just have to accept it happened.
Drusilla, we haven't heard from you yet.
I'm loving the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
It's wonderful, powerful stuff. I mean, yes, it is. It takes a lot of practice. The word that keeps coming to mind for me is staying open, because that's your way out. Staying open to receive what comes in, because a lot of times, as you said, Melissa, what is coming to you can be more powerful, more rewarding, or more valuable than what you have perceived to have lost, I guess is a way to say it. So I think everything that you all have mentioned so far is a way to remain open, right? Not future tripping, not harboring on the past or what has happened, and just remaining open to what's to come, and actually thinking about, what does it really mean that you've lost something? How valuable was it really? Are you placing value in the wrong place anyways? And how is that loss going to help you move beyond that connection or that attachment to something that you have perceived to have lost? So all of those things were going through my mind, but I really enjoyed listening to you also. That's why I was quiet.
Well, and I just want to say that I feel like one of those would have been a Penny's post-it if she were here with us today. When you said staying open is your way out. I thought that was beautiful.
Thank you.
And the being open. So, like, something that I wanted to touch on, like, what acceptance is not. So, like, for me, like, I could just hear people thinking, like, I'm in a bad marriage, right? Like, or, something is going on. Like, what do you mean accept what's going on? So I just want to point that out, that that's not exactly what acceptance means. Like, staying open, taking the pause, being present allows that divine intuition to guide, lead, I don't know what the words are, the next steps. And then that's a whole nother spiritual practice, is actually listening to our intuition.
Yeah. I mean, I think, just to reiterate what Melissa touched on earlier, acceptance doesn't mean that you like what's happening. Acceptance doesn't mean that you approve of, the war that's waging, or the Bernie Madoff and his, siphoning off of everyone's money. It doesn't mean you condone your husband's bad behavior, or whatever the case may be. Acceptance is not the same thing as liking, approving, condoning. So just to make that abundantly clear, acceptance is just how you find peace and centeredness in the eye of the storm. Like, because as long as we're having this 3-dimensional experience in the world of form as humans and bodies and in separation, there's going to appear to be chaos happening around us. Like, it is a chaotic place that we seem to live in. So,
And there's also a beautiful orchestration going on. There's a beauty to how everything works and everything operates together. And we accept that. Like in some of my meditations, I sit and I just watch the trees and the leaves and the birds. And I think, and for me, I look at like, where am I controlling? And for me, the control, it has to be a certain way for me to feel safe, or he shouldn't say that, he shouldn't do that. I think of when I'm controlling and when it has to be a certain way, I'm not accepting how it is. So I'm sitting and I'm looking at birds in the trees and I'm like, I'm not controlling that bird's wings. Like I'm choosing to control certain things and other things are just happening. And I can allow these things that I'm holding so tightly to just happen. And I hope that makes sense. And just peaceful, quietly looking at birds flying, looking at the leaves moving. I am not responsible for any of that. And so it is just happening as part of the big picture of everything that we accept. We tend to accept the really pretty, happy things. But the things that we think are problems, or it should be this way, should be that way, that is not acceptance. And that brings suffering. It really does.
Control, right? That's another, like when you said control, I'm like, my controller doesn't want to let go of that control, right? That's
and
some next level stuff too.
Yeah. I saw an Abraham Hicks quote today. It was like the quote of the day. Like anytime we try to, and I don't have children, but it was about children. Anytime we try to make decisions for our children or control their behaviors, we disempower them. And that goes true for any human on the face of the earth, your spouse, your partner, somebody else over on the other side of the world in Zimbabwe. Like anytime we try to control another person thinking that we know better what the highest and best for them is, then we're disempowering them. And we are demonstrating that we don't believe that all paths are perfect. All paths lead to God in the end. And sometimes it looks like people take the less good path or the less easy path or the less loving path. And a lot of these concepts are very abstract and, it's hard for the human mind to like fully get bought into them because it doesn't make sense when you see some unloving behaviors and you have to accept it.
Those are some very good points, Morgan, because I think up until now, we all have thought about it from our own personal reference point and how it impacts us specifically. But that's a really big one too, to allow everybody around you to have their own level and way of accepting things in their own personal life, no matter what the impact is to other people. And so that does make it really complicated when you're married with children, you have all of these different paths that are intertwined with yours. And how do you navigate acceptance of all of that on a daily basis can be very, very heavy stuff.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question. One of you, none of you, all of you. What could you absolutely not accept?
Everybody, it would be different for everyone, right? So we were just talking about relationships. Like in my relationship, if my husband, for me personally, had sex with another woman, that would be a deal breaker for me. And I know couples where that has happened and their marriage they're still, living together. They still have a good marriage. Good is such a relatively word, but it's still, they're in it. They're still learning partnership that way. So,
I'm hearing, I'm sorry, Melissa, but I'm hearing that there would be consequences if that behavior took place. But does that mean you could not get to a space of acceptance to the fact that that situation occurred?
Ooh, isn't that the $100 question? Yes. Yeah. Say that again, because that's important what you just said, Morgan.
Yeah. So I hear you have a boundary and that there are consequences to if that boundary is violated.
Mm-hmm.
And so the boundary is that, no sex outside of the marriage. And the consequence, if that boundary is crossed, is that the marriage will terminate.
Mm-hmm.
But does that negate acceptance? Like, can you still be in acceptance and those things transpire?
Well, I'm on the spiritual path. My spiritual path says that yes, right? Because that's the spiritual path I've chosen. And going back to the point, it would feel awful to me, right? There would be all kinds of emotions and things and feelings that I really wouldn't want to deal with. I really would not want to deal with. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So great question, Morgan. And I'm going to do a little tail end of that. Okay, let's just kind of dissect the acceptance of that.
Mm-hmm.
Would you ever be able to control Mike's behavior?
I used to think I could, right? I used to think I could. I tried for lots of years of our marriage too. Mm-hmm.
But even when you were doing that, if he really wanted to leave work one night and just go straight to someone else, you wouldn't be able to stop that.
No, I would not.
So you accept you can't, you want to control that behavior, but you wouldn't be able to.
Right.
Okay. So that's one level of acceptance. Another level of acceptance would be, you love each other and you have to trust him. Right?
Yeah.
That you have to build trust. And then you would also have to have some acceptance. If this did happen, you would live through it. Right? And then you would most likely go on to love again.
Mm-hmm.
He would go on and you would have to accept exactly what he did, and how he moved on. And then you, like you just said, like these are the little steps you would take to eventually get to a place of acceptance. I think there's lots of levels. That's the thing. It's not like just one big old whammo. It's like, I can accept that I can't control him. I can accept that this may always happen. It may happen in my marriage, right? I accept that we have a bond, we have trust, and that gives me faith. So it comes in little pieces, I think. And there are big whammos, but I think when the big things hit you, we chunk them down. We chunk them down anyways. We chunk them down by like following our husbands, checking his phone, making sure he's not, doing something he shouldn't be doing. That's the opposite of acceptance, but we're working at it in all these little ways.
Yeah, that's a great example. Trying to control, to manage, that's the walking up the stream.
Mine is if one of my children were to die in a very like a terrible way, but like an unfair, that would be my judgment about it. But I used to have this terrorize me. And I shared it with Jennifer Hadley, spiritual coach, mentor. And she just had me sit in it. Like, just I want you to sit in it. Like it really happened. And I did, and it took a long time and a lot of tears and everything, but I realized I was alive after feeling through that. And, of course I wouldn't like it. I don't want it to happen, but I can't control, like my son's away now. He's traveling. I can't go control everybody he comes into contact with and what's going to happen on his journey. So I just have to let that go. So I think, again, like it's the let go, the faith, the trust, and the practice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, when you ask that question, Melissa, I feel like I have experienced so many things in my lifetime that there was nothing that came to my mind that I couldn't accept. I know that. I know I'll still be alive and breathing and life will go on.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And when you asked that question, what I thought of was the Course in Miracles quote. What could you not accept if you but knew that everything that happens, all events, past, present, and to come, are gently planned by one whose only purpose is your good?
And are you going to have a better plan than that?
Right. I don't think so.
No. And in the middle of it, if someone were to say that, like if my husband, like I just found out that my husband cheated on me and someone were to do that, I would just cram that blue book right up there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Totally.
Exactly. Yeah. I think that for me, Byron Katie's the work, the Judge Your Neighbor worksheet is so like helpful to getting into acceptance. And even like the books, Loving What Is, it's one of her books that really talks about what acceptance is and what it looks like when you're fighting or arguing against reality, what it looks like when you're in acceptance. And like, it's so profound and so powerful. And like, I was thinking about the example, like she gives an example. She does the worksheet with a bunch of different people. So you can watch these videos on YouTube, but, like he should listen to me. My husband should listen to me. Well, in the example, men are singularly focused. Women tend to be multitasking and can do 12 things at once, including having a conversation with their spouse while doing 12 other things. Men are not that way. When they're focused on something, they're focused on something. So when she drilled down into the he should listen to me by going through the worksheet questions with this person, like the husband was in the middle of doing something else. I don't know what he was doing, but let's say he was doing something on his computer. So by thinking that he should listen to me, that means that you think he should stop whatever he's doing anytime he's in the middle of doing something, just because you're speaking to him. And it's like, when I got that, I was like, oh my gosh, I started paying attention to how often my husband would come and speak to me when I was in the middle of trying to concentrate on something, and how frustrating that was, and how I didn't want to stop what I was doing to pay attention to him. Like, I'll be with you in 5 minutes, or I'll be with you in 30 minutes. Like my concentration is here. So he should listen to me. It's not a true statement. Like why should he listen to you? He's focusing on something else. Like get on his little calendar or whatever. I don't know. It's just funny when you break down your shoulds. You mentioned the shoulds earlier, Melissa. Shoulds are judgments. And if you really can go into them, which is sometimes we don't have the mental bandwidth or the time to do that practice, but just knowing that under every should statement, it's your own judgments that are upsetting you. It's not the behavior that's taking place. So.
And that's a great indication to you not being in non-acceptance at the moment. It should be different than this. And Byron Katie would say, is that true? Should it? Is that true? Well, no, you want it to be that way. But if it's not happening that way, in reality, it is not happening. So that's a really good divine alarm clock when you are thinking, it should be this way. I want this to change. Even I want this to change. Is that true? So if you were really on a spiritual path, you want the highest and best for yourself and for everyone. You really don't know if it is the highest and best. You want it to be, but really reality in the present is really how it is.
Mm-hmm.
So for those that don't know, the divine alarm clock is a tool that Jennifer Hadley teaches. And it is when we move out of peace, when something is upsetting us, it's like an alarm clock going off. So it's the divinity ringing an alarm saying you're out of peace, you're out of peace.
You're in non-acceptance.
You're not, well, yeah, for this conversation, you are non-acceptance.
Yeah. So I'm wondering if any of you lovely lemonettes can tie this juicy conversation back to our Abundance Chronicles.
Yes. I'll take the first stab at it if that's okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah. So abundance, to me, abundance is a feeling. It's a state of being. It's a state of living. Yes, I prefer to have abundant bank account. Yes, I prefer an abundance of time and love. So it's a state of being. So during this conversation of acceptance, I'm coming back to present. Drusilla said being open. So coming back to that still point where you can get intuition, where you can feel the connection to all things. That's what it means to me. So it is tapping into the vibration of abundance. It's tapping into that. So I'm tuning my radio station into abundance, to peace, to gratitude every time that I go into acceptance. And then that allows an abundant lifestyle to manifest because I'm listening to that radio station all the time.
Perfect.
So that's mine. Anybody else?
Beautiful.
Yeah. And Morgan, way to prompt us to the full circle, right? Yeah.
Drusilla, I feel like you have some other last words of wisdom to share with us.
Oh, I don't know. Usually I do, but I think you all were so wise in your own stories. I don't have anything more to add. I think it was great. A great discussion.
Well, I'm glad to see your beautiful face again this week. We missed you last week. It's just good to have your presence here.
And you all had it was a wonderful discussion last week too. Yes. It was great. Great job.
Melissa, any final words, Melissa or Morgan?
I have. Of course I have.
Yay.
Show me? No. Okay. So imagine, let's just say life is abundant. Let's just say all of creation is abundant and in abundance, but we're not seeing it because there are blocks to allowing love in. We have blocks to seeing how magnificent, big, and amazing life is. And so if that's the story, then for me, non-acceptance would be one of those blocks. Like you're just not seeing the whole reality. You're not seeing how everything is working together because you're seeing certain things as problems for you or for other people. And so for me, the more I can keep taking down those blocks and keep using acceptance to know that there is a divine order happening and it is abundant. And I need to open my eyes and see it instead of focusing on all the things that I'm trying to control and trying to change and trying to fix. So if I take all that time away from fixing and controlling and being in not acceptance, I think the world and the abundance opens up because you can start seeing it and those blocks are dropping.
Wow. I love that. That's a good way to wrap up the Abundance Chronicles. I think we had 3 Abundance Chronicles and then 2 Abundance Masterclasses. Gratitude, and then this is acceptance.
Yeah. And I'll just share one last thing too, and then I'll wrap us up. Sorry, Amanda. I just was thinking about an autobiography of a yogi. There's a scene, and one of the people in the book receives like a large sum of money or something. And maybe his child asks him like if he's excited about it or something. I'm butchering the story because I haven't read the book in years, but he basically is like, we shouldn't really be swayed whether a large sum of money comes in or a large sum of money goes out. Like, it's just nothing. It's just nothing. Money is really nothing. And it's like, and I don't want to dismiss money is energy. We've had the whole conversation about abundance. Like, it's okay to desire money, but like, what a lofty aspiration to get to the place where, you can receive criticism the same way you can receive a compliment, and neither of them affect you at your core. And you can receive large sums of money and large losses of money and still be who you are at your core. And just to be in that completely neutral state is an aspiration for me. Although I would like to not experience the big losses.
Preach, sister.
Full disclosure. Oh my goodness. Okay. Any announcements, lovely lemonettes?
No.
Amanda, do you want to remind our listeners about your upcoming Sundays with Spirit appearances?
Yay, I do. So I have on June, I have 2. I'm going to be talking at Sundays with Spirit twice. At the end on the 30th of June and in August on the 4th of August. And I'm going to be talking about my experiences with River and what I learned from River. So the first one is going to be about boundaries and trust. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you. It's going to be amazing. So Sundays with Spirit, for our listeners who don't know, is a free Sunday service that takes place live on Zoom at 3 Eastern, I believe, every Sunday. And we will link so you can register to receive the Zoom link to join, or the recording to watch Amanda's replay. We'll include all the details in our podcast notes. So, all right. Thank you so much for joining us, our lovely listeners. We're so grateful for you. And please visit our website, 5lemonslaughing.com. Check us out on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to podcasts. All of your hearts, comments, reviews are helpful. Share with your friends and loved ones, anyone you think might find this podcast helpful. And we hope we'll see you again next week. Cheers.
Bye.
Bye for now.